these are the different types. The first one is called autogamy. Autogamy means pollination within the same flower. Second one is Geitonogamy. That means pollination between different flowers. It is between different flowers, but the flowers are present on the same plant body. Xenogamy means pollination between flowers belonging to different plant bodies. Autogamy. In autogamy, now this is the stamen, this is the pistil, and both are present within the same flower. The flower is same. When the pollen grains are transferred from the anther to the stigma within same flower, if it is within same flower, then we call it as autogamy. So can you tell me about the genetic variability? Will there be any difference? Will the pollen grain be genetically different from what egg will be present here? This is the egg over here. Pollen grain will have two male gametes. Two male gametes, one will fuse with the egg. Yes, correct. In this case, that is in case of autogamy, pollen grain genes will be same, will be similar to egg genes. So there will be no differences in the progeny. That means if there is a fruit formed out of this flower later, if this flower turns out to be a fruit, that fruit will not have much genetic variability because both are from the same flower. The pollen grain genes will be similar to the egg genes in autogamy, in the case of autogamy. So the autogamy means pollination within the same flower. Now the next is Geitonogamy. Geitonogamy means, I am drawing here a plant. This plant, suppose this plant is bearing two flowers. And here there is pollen grains present within the anther. I'll name this flower as A, this flower as B. And here there is stigma. I am drawing the stigma present inside the flower like this. The transfer of pollen grain now will take place. The transfer of pollen grain from the anther to the stigma of another flower. Now you see, from A flower, the pollen grains have been transferred to B flower. But these flowers both are present on same plant. Plant body is same. Flowers are born on same plant body. So can you tell me in this case, will there be any genetic variability between pollen as well as the egg? Will there be any difference between these two? Yes. Here also no genetic variability will be there. Genes of pollen grain will be same as the genes of stigma or the genes of the egg. Why? Because both these flowers are born on the same plant body. Plant body is same, only the flowers are different. So when we look, simply when you see from one flower to another the pollen is crossing, it may look like a cross pollination. But the thing is that there is no genetic variability as they are found on the same plant body. So such kind of a pollination is called as Geitonogamy. Once again, Geitonogamy means pollination between different flowers, but they are present on the same plant. So Geitonogamy is also a type of self-pollination. Autogamy is, of course, autogamy is always self-pollination. Now the next is, last one is Xenogamy. Xenogamy is functionally cross. In case of xenogamy, there will be two different plant bodies. Like here one plant is there, here another plant body is there. Here suppose female flowers are present. This tree is bearing, tree number A is bearing female flowers. And this is a male tree B, it has got male flowers. Now the transfer of pollen grain. If the pollen grains are getting transferred from the male flower to the stigma of female flower, so inside this flower stigma is there, to the stigma of female flower, but in this case the flowers are present on two different plant bodies. So the pollen grain present on the male flower, their genes are different from the stigma or the egg. Egg will be found within the ovary of these flowers. So the genes are different. So this is a perfect cross pollination. Such kind of pollination is called xenogamy. Xenogamy means pollination between different flowers belonging to different plant bodies. So this kind of situation you can see it in date palm. Date palms are like that. Even papaya plant is also like that. Papaya and date palm, they have female date palm, male date palm, and from the male date palm tree, pollen grains will come through the insects or wind to the female flowers present on female palm tree. Similarly, papaya is also like that. Papaya male flowers look different from the female flowers. So papaya, there is a male plant, male papaya plant and the female papaya plant. From the male flowers, the pollen grains will move towards the female papaya plant. So in case of this xenogamy, this is cross pollination, right? So it requires insects help. Insects help because distance will be there between the two plant bodies. So insects should help them to transfer the pollen grains. Whereas autogamy, in case of autogamy, the both pistil as well as stamen are present in the same flower. So it's not very necessary that there should be a pollinating agent. Geitonogamy, yes, insects will be required because the flowers are present on two different, means distance is different. There is a distance between the two different flowers even though it is present on the same plant. Now more about autogamy. This is pistil of a flower, this is stamen of a flower, and petals I am opening and keeping here. These kind of flowers where the petals are open, they are also called open flowers. These kind of flowers that are open, they are called as chasmogamous flowers. So if the flowers are like this open type, then they are telling that the autogamy is difficult to happen. Complete autogamy is rare. Complete autogamy means the pollen grain of anther will fall on the stigma of same flower itself. Pollen grain will not go out. That such a situation is called complete autogamy. Complete autogamy means when the pollen grain of one flower will fall only on the stigma of the same flower. Strict it is. Strictly self-pollination. That is called as autogamy. In such a way that pollen grain cannot come out of the flower. Such a situation cannot happen in chasmogamous. Why it is not happening in chasmogamous? Why is it not possible? Some pollen grains can come out also because petals are open. So that is the meaning of this textbook sentence. Autogamous flowers, complete autogamy is rare. Rare means it is difficult. The reason is because the flower is open and their anthers and stigma are also exposed. So when they are exposed, there is a chance that pollen grain can go out and they can fall on the stigma of some other flower also of nearby plant. See, the pollen grain went like this and it fell on some other flower, because insects are also flying, no? Bees and honeybees, butterflies and all will be there. So they will carry these pollen grains to the another flower. Chances are there that cross can happen if the flower is open type. This is clear for you, children? What is chasmogamous means? In contrary to this, that means opposite to, there is one type of flower called cleistogamous flower. Cleistogamous flowers looks like bud, but they are not actually bud. Now this is the pistil of the flower, suppose, and this is the stamen of the flower, suppose. The complete petals will close over this in such a way that it looks like a bud. It won't open at all. They are closed. 5 petals are there means 5 also will close like this. Outside it looks like this, like a bud it will look. So it is inside this there are these sex organs present. They never open. These flowers never open. They look like bud, but they are not actually bud, they are adults only. But the flower petals will not open. In this case, pollen grain has no other way, but they have to fall on the stigma of the same flower. In this example, autogamy, what about the autogamy? Can you tell me?
Possible.
Yes, only autogamy is possible. Here they cannot do cross pollination. Only autogamy is possible because petals never open. So if they ask you what is chasmogamous flowers, you can write those flowers whose petals are open. And what is cleistogamous flowers means, you can write those flowers whose petals are closed. They never open. Autogamy is rare in case of chasmogamous flowers because they are open type, but autogamy is possible, only autogamy is possible in case of cleistogamous flowers. Now the examples. There are some plants, these examples you have to study. It's called viola, commonly called common pansy. Plants like viola, oxalis, commalina, they produce both types of flowers. Means one plant will have both, 2 in 1 it is. So they look like this. Suppose this is their plant. Suppose this is a viola plant. Suppose it is a viola plant. On the upper parts of the plant, chasmogamous flowers will be present with open petals. And one branch will be there lying on the ground. That will bear cleistogamous flowers like bud. So we can say it is a 2 in 1 plant. So 3 types of plants are there like that: viola, oxalis, commalina. In their case, both chasmogamous and cleistogamous flowers are present on the same plant body. One plant, commalina, they have shown commalina here. Commalina with cleistogamous and chasmogamous flowers. See, cleistogamous flowers are found here. They are lying on the ground. And chasmogamous flowers means they are open. They are found above the level of ground. Chasmo, this is cleisto, looking like bud. Which type of pollination, autogamy, Geitonogamy or Xenogamy, brings genetically different pollen grains? That is important. In Geitonogamy, though cross pollination takes place, pollen grains transferred are from the same plant body. So the pollen grains are genetically similar to autogamy. So the correct answer is Xenogamy. Only Xenogamy makes it complete cross pollination, whereby genetically different pollen grains will be present.